Fourth and fifth normal form. Fourth and fifth normal form are rarely used in commercial environments. If they are, they can generally cause performance problems because normalizing a data model down to this level, to these layers, can actually cause SQL code executed against a relational database to be joined between too many tables. One of the most significant aspects with decreasing performance or hurting performance in a relational database, either in an OLTP database or even a data warehouse, is very intense normalization, such as using fourth and fifth normal form. From a practical standpoint and performance standpoint in a commercial environment, I tend to stay away from fourth and fifth normal form and even third normal form unless it's absolutely needed. The technical explanation for fourth normal form is a dispersal of multi-valued facts. Essentially what it means in simple terms is separation of null values. You create new entities to remove potentially null values from one entity and place them into a separate entity. So going back to Irwin, let's say in our many-to-many join resolution entity that we created with third normal form, we had a field that said textual description of the assignment. And let's also say that this value, we go into the attribute editor, is obviously going to be a string value, and that it's not required. If I set it to required, it would be non-nullable. In this case, it's nullable. Let's say that we don't always have an availability start and end date. Well, let's also say that we have an assignment hours field. And in order to get through this, I actually have to do this. Available start date. So what I'm saying is that the assignment hours field, let's go to the physical model. We've seen the physical model. I'm going to go and change this thing here. I'm going to set it up as Oracle variables. The employee number comes from another table, so I'm not actually going to change that right now. Assignment hours would be a number, and we're saying that this field cannot be null. And let's go back to there again. I shouldn't have quit out of it so quick. Available start. Okay, so this will be a date field, and it's nullable. This will also be a date field, and it's nullable. And this will be, let's say, a long varchar, and it's nullable. What does that mean? That assignment hours has to be entered, and these three fields do not have to be entered. In other words, for some assignments, going back to the logical model, these three fields down the bottom don't have to be entered. Fourth normal form allows you to do this. Let's just demonstrate it, and then you'll see exactly what I mean. So let's create another table and call it assignment detail. It still has employee project. We take this out of here. As I said, it still has employee project, which is basically the primary key. I can go to here, and actually we'll go into the attribute editor and simply delete these three fields. As you can see, I've actually shifted these three fields away from this assignment object. Why? Because these three fields are quite often null as a group. So all I'm doing with fourth normal form is actually removing this information from here, because potentially I want to save space because these fields can quite often be nullable. There's only one point to make about that. In an Oracle database, which is quite sophisticated, the record lengths are variable. Very little space will actually be saved in the physical structure for each row by removing these nullable fields to another object. The amount of performance gained by separating these two objects, assuming that quite often you're going to read only the assignment table and you're not going to join to the assignment detail table, the amount of performance gained by reducing the amount of I/O is going to be much less significant in relation to the amount of performance loss when having to join these two tables to find these values. So using fourth normal form to separate out null values is not necessarily very effective. How do we set up this relationship? First of all, we've got to set up this relationship here, and it's telling me that it wants to replace the values. These two guys here, employee project. Now what actually is here in terms of relationship is actually a one-to-one relationship. What it's saying here is that for every assignment, I don't have to have assignment details. In other words, these guys are nullable. That's 0. But for every assignment detail, I must have a single assignment row. That's a simple version of fourth normal form. Fifth normal form, I like to think of fifth normal form and anything beyond as anything in terms of removal of duplication and anything else that normalization does. Fifth normal form will cover anything that has already been missed by the previous applications of first, second, third, and fourth normal forms. Fourth and fifth normal form are essentially a little bit too complex for this course, so we won't go any further with it.